Hi, my name is Dorothy Drew. I just wanted to do a quick recording for my course on transform your mindset, transform your body. I'm not a nutritionist. My expertise is on emotional aspects behind excess weight and visualization to make changes and stuff. But this is a product I wanted to talk about. I've talked to a few people that I found made a difference physically for me to release a lot of food cravings and stuff. And I just wanted to share some information about it. And the full document that I originally learned about from this is going to be on the website. And so just to share, it's at there. Okay. Okay, so Hunza bread, is also known as no hunger bread. It's a fantastic story, and I'm finding it to be a really good product. And my Facebook group is the Transform Your Mindset, Transform Your Body. My webpage is Drew New You. And if you want to book a consultation with me, I'm at calendly.com and my name, Dorothy Drew. So Hunza are people who live in the Himalayas in Tibet. They're mentioned in the famous novel Lost Horizons. And there's been quite a number of really fascinating National Geographic articles about them, about their lifestyle. And they live in a place that's very, very high altitude, of course, like a desert. But they're amazing because they're very long-lived. And so a lot of research has been done on their diet, what they eat. And so this is the beginning of how the information came about. So even just to say that people are in good health, living well beyond 100 is incredible in itself. Anyway, if you look at these videos, it gives more information, and it's a fascinating story. So in the 1970s, after reading about the Hunza people and their diet, a couple, Ben and Nancy Suare, adapted a bread recipe to make it acceptable for Western people and to come across with the benefits that the Hunza people have with their bread. So they found that adding this bread, which I find is more of a biscuit than a bread, they released weight, significant amounts of weight, with no change in their diet, with no increase in their exercise. And they had energy and they were not hungry. So I thought that's an interesting story. So they created a product to sell. The story of the regulatory agency's involvement is fascinating. The regulatory agencies went after them for false advertising, all kinds of things, and yet it's a story of a lot of corruption. I had to keep looking at the date was 1970 some odd. Could have been a few, the recent. Anyway, so while it's fascinating, that's not the point of this presentation. The point is that it's a good product. And so what he said in this advertisement was when we ate the bread, we lost our appetite. The bread was a perfect, natural, healthful addition to our diet. That's by Ben Suare. My experiences, so I made a batch and I made half the batch of a recipe. I looked hard to find a free recipe because most of the recipe formats are behind a paywall. And for about 10 days with my first batch, I did what they call the fast track, weight release plan. So I ate quite, I'd had 2 meals a day. I mostly ate this bread and then with some fruits and vegetables, and I wasn't hungry. It was so wonderful. And I just got in the habit when I did feel I want to eat something, I'd grab a little piece of this stuff. And what I noticed was within a few days, I could look at chocolate stuff and I wasn't interested in it. So even though my sons were filling up the fridge with Nanaimo bars and chocolate cake and all that kind of stuff I would normally go crazy about, I didn't need them, I didn't want them, I didn't crave them, and it lasted for quite a while. I did a half a recipe, a half of from the batch, and it lasted for 2 months. So after the first little bit, I didn't eat it just that food. I just ate it as a, in addition to meals I had, and I did notice that when I ate it with a meal, I wasn't hungry after the meal, so it worked for me. So, and I had energy. I was able to increase my walking distance. So I was wanting to release weight, and I did. It helped me to just get into this, losing quite a bit of weight in a very short time. And then I plateaued. And of course, I should have kept eating it, but, would have, should have, could have. And I finished the whole batch about a month ago, and I've noticed even though my weight is plateaued, I'm not increasing, but I'm starting to increase my junk food, and I'm starting to sort of look at those Nanaimo bars and, I'll just have one. So anyway, I made another batch today. And I will I'll scan the whole story of where I read all this information, but they have a lot of theories about why. So one of the theories is that it works as an appetite suppression, and it's because it's got a very unusual cooking process. They cook it for an hour at 300 Fahrenheit, and then they put it down to 100 for 2 hours. So it's not a normal bread cooking sort of protocol. And plus they use a lot of honey, they use a lot of molasses, and they suggest this quick shot of carbohydrates helps to suppress the appetite. The other point is that there's a lot of fiber in this product because it's the buckwheat uh, flour. It's chewy, and then they sort of say once it's in the digestive tract, it expands and absorbs water, and it makes the food move through the tract faster, and it decreases calorie absorption. Another theory is because of the density of the bread. It's a very heavy bread. And like I say, I think it's more like a biscuit, but and the satiation. So it contains fat, protein, carbohydrates. It's balanced. It satisfies a range of cravings. It's especially satiating when it's eaten warm with a hot beverage. And then the slow baking process does something different about the gas release from, I guess, the baking powder. And that increases the feeling of fullness, but it's such a minute amount, it's not really noticeable. So this is just a summary of which I'll put up on the website as well, on the Facebook group. And so the original recipe, 4 pounds of buckwheat flour. Anyway, I used 2 pounds and then tried to figure out the rest of it from there. The first batch I made, it was, I didn't realize that like the 16 ounces of honey was a weight measurement, not a volume measurement. So I use double the amount. So for this batch, being more careful about, the measurements, I didn't use quite a full jar. Last time I used 2 jars and of this raw honey, pasteurized honey, and I used the full jar of molasses. So, and I think if I make it again, well, when I make it again, I do like molasses. If you don't like molasses, I think you could just put more honey in. You don't have to, but I do like molasses, and so I think I would add more. So, most of the stuff I had, the cinnamon and nutmeg and vanilla, so I didn't have to buy that. But the buckwheat flour so I did it to make 2 bags, and, so that was like $15 just for the flour, $10 or so for the honey, um, $5 for the molasses, so it was around $30 to make this second batch, and the first batch was more like $40, but then I was, I had to buy the unrefined sugar, and I used more honey, I used more molasses, and so this is the link where you can download the printable recipe, but just to show you, you can modify it. So you know, um to do half a batch, it takes my full oven. So that's a large cookie sheet, a medium cookie sheet, and a small cookie sheet. And I couldn't put more in. So if I made the full recipe, I'd have to bake it twice, like in 2 batches. And the baking directions, the standard, you mix all the ingredients, you use it on a cookie sheet because it doesn't rise very much. It just rises a little bit. But the trick is that it's baked at a fairly low temperature and then it's lowered. So I know my old oven used to go down to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, um, but my new oven doesn't. So my adaptation was, I baked it for an hour at 300 Fahrenheit, and then I lowered the temperature to about 1670, which is the lowest my oven can go. I did that for about 2 minutes, and then I just shut the oven off. I left the light, the inside oven light on, and figuring that would help to keep the temperature at a drying level. And the eating directions are fascinating. It's got a lot of minerals in it. Um, and so it's important that you use organic and natural. And there are many ways to eat it, either as a full, diet, to fast track the weight release, or as to supplement. And that's given more in the other directions. And so, they say plan A, you eat 1 piece every 5 hours for the 16 hours you're awake. Well, I'm more interested in doing an intermittent fasting. So I try more to have a short window of about 5 hours of eating time. But what I found was with this Hunza bread, I wasn't hungry between meals, and the 2 meals were fine. Um, and as you said, to eat 2 pieces every 4 hours for 8 pieces in the whole day, I couldn't eat that much. It was too filling, but that's a possible way of doing it. And this is just to show you, there are quite a number of recipes on the internet. I watched one video where some people, it was a survivalist, and he was making this bread, and then he was doing it in a vacuum sealed, cutting it into little squares and putting it in vacuum sealed packages. Um, I think this picture, she must not have used the molasses, just the honey. And so, but anyway, you can print it up and have it from there. And that's the web page. So if you just do Hunza bread recipe diet bread, you'll come up to this. And this is just a picture of the batch I made today. It's very, very dark because of all the molasses. It'd be even darker. The first batch was even darker. I put quite a bit into a couple of containers that I'll put in the fridge or in the freezer, and then I have at least several weeks worth that's just in the fridge. And like I say, it did help me to sort of do a fast track weight release. It helped me to release a lot of um, food cravings, sugar cravings, chocolate cravings, and I'm just really excited to try this second batch. And if you try it, let me know what you find about it, how your results are, and it's a fascinating way. And on top of it, as I said, my expertise is working on mindset and the emotions and changing that. But having a physical help to go further it can't hurt. So thank you for your attention, and I'll talk to you soon.